100%. Thank you so much, Amanda. Thanks, folks, for joining me for this hug event. Let's get started. So
Yeah.
I'm actually having like three screens. So if I'm not looking in the camera, like it's not like I'm not looking at you guys, but I'm looking at my other screen. So just a heads up. So let's get started. PLG, hot topic of like, around couple of years. It's been a hot topic since this SaaS stuff came up and really skyrocketed during the COVID period. But let's figure out. So a little bit about me. So I'm the RevOps product manager at Rev Partners, and this is my team. We have a very funky name, Center of Excellence. Like that's the actual name of the team. I'm not kidding. And that's me. So I like brought in my horse, so you don't have to deal with my extremely awkward smile and you know everything else. So we do a couple of things. We build solutions in HubSpot, and we do like all of these things that you can see here, but specific focus on the playbook execution and creation and data analysis and product development. So that's what we do. Pretty funky team. I love it. Like I love to work with my team every single day. Best day of my life. But let's get going. Agenda. So I'm not gonna go bore you to death with all this theory stuff. We'll talk a little about understanding PLG, the fundamentals, what is it about, and we are gonna talk about why HubSpot for scaling SaaS businesses, specifically using PLG as their go-to-market, and then we are gonna actually get into a HubSpot instance that I've built out, and we're going to look at certain things that you need to figure out. So I want to give you guys a framework because PLG is a vast topic. I don't want you to feel like, okay, this is a one size fits all solution. It's not possible. Doesn't work. If anyone says that, it's false. So don't even think about it. Think of this as a framework, and then we can go from there. And finally, we'll have some question and answer. So let's get into it. So what is PLG? PLG is basically a go-to-market function where, or a business strategy where we are using the product, your solution or your product. Mostly, it's like a SaaS solution where the product itself is your customer acquisition lever, expansion lever, and retention. So it's your product is your salesperson, your marketing person, and your CS person. There are some layers to that, but fundamentally, very basically, that's what PLG is. What is not a PLG? So let's say a company is building out a software solution for, let's say, selling to other brands. Maybe let's think about like Unity or we'll get the link to the recording. So think about Unity or Unreal Engine. So these are large gaming softwares. They do not sell to individual users. So they cannot really run PLG motion. They can technically, but not really good good value prop for them. So it's gonna be a SaaS business which will be basically targeting and selling to power users first, and then basically expanding to the accounts. We'll get to the examples, and then that will be good. So why PLG? Because of the rise of the internet, like broadband and everything is like super fast. We are so disconnected other side of the world, and like we are having this meeting. So one of the simple example of why PLG. So internet access is like super simple and easy for everyone at this point. Not everyone, but yeah, majority of the folks. And sales process and the entire business model is shifting. So it's not like you have to talk to a salesperson and just go about your day and basically run everything through a salesperson manually and then finally get to try the product. It's not that. You're not buying a car. You are an educated buyer. So it's an upgraded version of inbound. So you're an educated buyer, you're consuming on content, you're evaluating like solutions, and then you can try out the product. Mostly it's freemium or a free trial, and then you can, evaluate that. If it's a good fit, you keep it, buy it, or just, scrap that if it doesn't work. So that's in nutshell. I'm not going to read through all of this, fairly theoretical, but product is basically your, some of the benefits are like product is your key driver of growth. Like your product needs to be so good that the other channels, your inbound or your, partner-led growth or community-led growth, whatever, they need to, just complement that. Your product has to be super good. So it needs to be, a primary focus for your driver. And then self-service adoption. So think about, you got into a software solution, a SaaS solution, and you basically learned everything. It's not like someone has to, do a full onboarding with you, just to get the initial gist of it, if it's like a good fit or not. And then data-driven optimization. So PLG, one of the key benefits of PLG is whatever is happening on your product, the data is, getting harvested out of it. Couple of data, we are going to talk about more that in the examples, and when we are actually, in HubSpot looking at stuff. So data driven, basically think about the interactions, login sessions, and many other key elements. So those will be, backing up you both in terms of your revenue function and your engineering team. So that's going to be your, data driven. And virality. So virality is self-explanatory, like ChatGPT is a good example. Talking about examples, let's look at some examples. So HubSpot, definitely. HubSpot is one of the key examples. Like I can share my own personal story. I was acquainted with HubSpot by HubSpot Academy first. So I did, all those inbound course and stuff, like to improve my skills as a salesperson, as a business development person, in a manufacturing company. And then when the time came, like when I was in a certain seat, I was looking at multiple solutions to get the company from a full pen and paper. I'm not kidding. It's like it was a pen and paper story. I hope they don't watch this, but it was a full-fledged pen and paper thing, and I wanted to digitalize this. So I was looking in this like CRM world. So I found out HubSpot, and I was like, okay, it's a free tool. Sounds fishy, but it provided so much value upfront, like even in the free product, that I was like, okay, you know what? I went to the company director and I was like, yeah, we need this. We need to buy this in order to, make our sales team efficient and stuff. And we ended up buying Sales Hub Professional. So one personal story of like HubSpot. So they are still offering free plans. If you haven't, tried it, just, create an account, play around. It's really good. You can, look at all the couple of different tools that it has to offer just in the free plan. Next is Slack. Slack is again very popular. A lot of free communities are hosted on the free plan. You can invite a lot of people in Slack, and it's like really organized. It has a nice amount of integrations. So if you want to, have a record of what was said and what was documented in Slack, you need to pay for that and for other, advanced features. But starting up, it's really a PLG thing. One real good example is OpenAI. So OpenAI ChatGPT was first launched as a free end user product, gained huge amount of traction. Like it was wildfire. Everyone knows that. But those end user frameworks, like that was not the main ICP of OpenAI. How they are making money is using the GPT-3 and GPT-4 AI. There are a couple of other engines as well, but basically they are making their main cash out of the GPT engines. So you can see all these companies popping up with, term AI. at the end, that's basically integrated with ChatGPT. It has its nuances in terms of software development and implementation and all other things. So, but at the end, it's like talking to GPT AI APIs in the back end. So that's one huge example of a product-led growth. So why a HubSpot in terms of like if you want to run a SaaS business and you want to do a go-to-market with with the PLG motion. So it's number one marketing automation platform. It's second in CRM. Even though it should be first, I don't know. Something happened on G2. Let's not talk about it. Number three in help desk, and number one on customer success. So you can like at time of me creating this slide, I think a week ago or last week, this was a source, but feel free to check that. So there are two ways at this point when you're building out your tech stack to onboard your team and everything to run your business. You can either get cobbled CRM, like cobbled solution with extremely clunking UI and user experience, very high time to value, takes ages to implement, and database will be scattered even within the solution. If you want to buy the marketing tool of the same company, the databases will be scattered. So it's like they acquired certain company and that's a thing now. And definitely higher cost of ownership, both in terms of implementation and maintenance. HubSpot, on the other hand, it's like a one platform. So we are talking about really, really good marketing automation tool where you can, run your marketing campaigns, ads, retargetings, forms, CTAs. It's really good, like getting really good in CMS world as well. And then you have a very good CRM as well, which is clean and really nice to use. Like people actually like to use HubSpot because like the UI and everything is so clean. Quick time to value, like if you give me a HubSpot instance blank slate and we can have a couple of calls with like learning about your business case, I can set that up and running in like a couple of weeks, depending on the size and complexity of the business, but the MVP will be ready in a couple of weeks. And singular database, so like all of your team is working through one singular system. So whatever is happening on the marketing is all reflected on that singular contact object. For example, let's take that for example. So every marketing email that was sent, all the ad interactions that were happened, all the form submissions, web activity, it's all captured there. If you have a deal associated to that, that's going into the sales domain, then it's again on the same domain. So if the salesperson wanted to check what happened on the marketing side, they have the full history. Once the CS handoff happens, the onboarding ticket and everything is live, you guessed it, it's also have like full visibility. So singular database, which is like relational and really smart, and then really lower cost of ownership, both in terms of implementation, maintenance, and of course the licenses cost as well. So HubSpot exploring. So I'll spare my rambling for now. If you had a chance to choose a CRM for your business, let's say you got all the decision making rights and everything, and you have a team that you want to onboard to run your business, what are two essential criteria you will be looking at? Let me know in the chat. I'm waiting. Is the chat frozen or
nope, it's still up. It says okay, Rashida says customizable as an essential criteria for selecting a CRM platform. API, easy to use, custom, and price. Intuitive. Caitlin says intuitive. Let's see, what else have you guys got?
Budget and easy to use.
Budget, yep, and easy and ease of use. Customizable and less dev code dependent.
That is a good one. Scalable. 100%. Yeah, it has to be scalable. Like, it's not like you bought something which looks shiny. That's a really good one. You bought something shiny and nice, and then later on you find, okay, oh my God, we cannot really scale this. We have to migrate the entire damn thing. And there goes like a full on migration party. Yeah, without a depth. So yeah, the beauty of HubSpot lies in it's really good in terms of like you can get really deep in terms of customization without even being a developer. And if you have a dev team, it's the possibilities are endless. Like with operations hub custom code, you can basically do literally anything uh, with custom code like Node.js and Python. You can use all the programming libraries which are supported. You can build CRM cards, CRM extensions, and phenomenal stuff. But yeah, thanks for all the responses. So customizable and scalable. Noted. So these are some of the feature points of HubSpot. I'm not gonna go into details, but you can see like this is all in one single platform that you can get natively. I'm not even talking about any integration at this point. So these are all the things that you can get in one single solution. And then you have the workflow, CRM, robust reporting, and program. Like this is the overlay of what you can do in marketing operations, sales operations, and CS ops. So this is what you get. So let's get tactical. Implementing PLG with HubSpot. So it's a very vast topic. So we will try to cover three today, and then maybe asynchronous, or maybe in a future event or something, we will try to cover others. So we'll talk about customize lifecycle stages, full funnel journey analytics, and then segmentation to support multiple go-to-market. I'm also going to talk about product usage data a little bit, not the implementation part, because it's not going to be feasible. You have to, have a particular integration setup with your homegrown system and have that data pushed back in HubSpot. But I'll give you the idea on what are some of the best practices to think about it as a framework. So let's get into it. So some things to like consider. Most of the time when you're running PLG in HubSpot, it's a multi-channel approach. So I am currently working live on an account on one of the partners customers. So they are a product company. It's a popular software company, and people like Tim Cook from Apple and Gary Vee, and all those big names, they have used and promoted their product. So big deal. But they are not just running PLG like as a pure PLG, just PLG. It's like this rarely the case. They're running multiple channels. They're running outbound, they're running inbound, and they're running product-led growth, of course. So I'm going to talk about, if you have two motions, you can take this framework and apply it to multiple. There is a point where this can start to get extremely complex when your go-to markets are to a certain point, and your nature of business and industry and all those other factors. But we'll start, for sake of simplicity, we'll start with dual channel. So let's consider in our case, we have inbound happening and we have outbound. So you can see this bow tie funnel. This is basically, we are talking about all the way till customer, what happens over there. And once someone is a customer, what happens after that? Because not all customers are created equal. Some people buy your product, experience buyer's remorse, and then immediately churn. So that's not really a good way to just stop at the customer point. And then what happens after activation, impact, and lifetime value? I'm gonna just define all of these life cycle stages in a nutshell, and then we'll go further. So freemium user or lead. So let's say someone went to your app, web app, or product. Let's say you have a software product. Simple example is a Grammarly. So you signed up, you are now a freemium user. So you are using the product, getting some value. and you're basically in their system, in their database. Let's talk about inbound. So same company, Grammarly, can have an inbound motion, even though I think it's not the case. But there is a company, let's say they have inbound as well. So they, like, someone went ahead and just submitted a contact us form, a low intent form. So they are now a lead in the system. So these two you can track in one single life cycle stage, but you have to slice it, segment it. I recommend approach using a custom property known as GTM, and then segment it and then build different lists. So on the left and right side, all of this you can see, we will use them as lists, like different lists. So I'll be sharing some as an example, and then you can definitely take this and build your own framework. PQL level 1, level 2. So let's say I am using Grammarly and I'm like getting all these insight emails, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then I'm like getting those feature pop-ups right within the app. It's mostly in the Chrome extension, but I'm getting, okay, I want to buy premium. So if I want to use this, I want to improve my tone, or I want to, restructure the syntax of my sentence. So I'm interacting with those, and I'm consuming those free points that they are providing. So that's kind of usage data that's Grammarly is capturing. And as soon as I hit a certain threshold, let's say I consume that premium suggestions that you pop up, that you see, with a certain point, they'll mark me as PQL level 1, because the Grammarly product has now qualified me to a certain level. They have marked me to a different life cycle stage. I'm not representing Grammarly like in any sense, but just for a simple example, because it's like a very popular. MQL, on the other hand, it's like a more of an intent behavior. I am like a prospect which lives in your CRM with a certain certain scenario, and then I'm looking at your website, your pages, and based on that you're scoring me, or you're specifying certain criteria and marking me as an MQL. Or I'm a direct hand raiser. I said I want to talk to sales. Haven't had the meeting yet, but still I said I want to talk to sales. So I'm an MQL. So you can see the difference. On the left side, the product is doing the qualification, and on the inbound, all of your inbound assets, like all your marketing assets, they are doing the qualification. So that is the key difference. And all the way up to opportunity, when we are like talking about talking numbers, like talking about opening a deal in the CRM, if you are talking in CRM language. So we opened up a deal, and basically, again, there can be a multiple things. So if you're a pure PLG motion, you can have a pipeline which is like fully integrated with your product, and whatever happens in your product, if it's like a self-checkout thing, you can automatically move the deals to closed won or lost. And finally, you have all the triggers in terms of activation, impact, and LTV. So I'm going to talk more about that when we will get to the example. Any questions so far? If you want to take away something from this session, I want you to take this and the next slide. That's pretty much it. Forget everything else. I'm good with that. Any questions so far?
I don't see any questions. I don't see any questions just yet, but feel free to ask anything. Oh,
yeah,
in the chat. Have you found a way to track LTV in HubSpot?
Yeah, excellent question. So LTV is a lifetime value is different for every single organization. I love that question. So for a company, let's say let's get rid of the PLG for now. For a manufacturing company, they acquired a large customer, and the lifetime value for their customer base can be totally different than, let's say, you're talking textiles. So if you're buying a certain amount of product, or you have stayed in contract for a certain time period, then you can definitely assign lifetime value. So in HubSpot, excuse me, how do you do that? So if you're talking about SaaS business, think about recurring revenue. How much of the recurring revenue once you achieve, you can call that call that customer a lifetime value customer, because it has now generated enough value for your business that if they churn, it's not like a loss to you, even though you want to keep your customer as long as possible. But once they hit a certain lifetime value, you have reached a certain point of profitability with that particular customer acquisition. So that's a good question. Any other questions? So yeah, what tools do you suggest to push the events in HubSpot based on product activities? So depends on your use case. So there are a couple of options. You can use Vertify, you can use High Touch, you can try using HubSpot native custom behavior events. I don't know if I'm like saying that correctly. So it's custom behavioral events. So you can enable that, attach it to your product. If your engineering team is okay, engineering team are like extremely reluctant to installing third-party solutions to your product. But if your engineering team is okay with that, you can add those behavioral events in your certain aspects of the app that you want to track the behavior. Do you suggest using a lifecycle stages for past customer once they churn? No, I don't. Because see, customer, like I'm aware customer journey is not linear, but when you're talking about quantifying that data, like to make it usable for you, it has to go in certain linear manner, even though the activities that's happening between them, it's fine, that can happen in a non-linear fashion, and you can track on other like factors. But once they churn, I would recommend having a custom property called as customer status or account status or current status, as active, inactive, low activity, churned. So we'll talk about that. I think I have that kind of custom property already built in the dimension that I'm showing. But no, I don't recommend having a custom lifecycle stage for capturing churn. So you like based on that, you'll see, let's say you reached the point of impact and then they churn. So you'll see, okay, these are the number of impact customers that are churning, or who have completed the activations are churning. So you'll see that ratio if you measure it on a different custom property and not in the life cycle stages. So it's going to be super difficult to track. Any other questions before I move on?
Let's see. Do you always treat inbound and PLG as completely separate GTM motions?
That depends. Good question. I would like for sake of simplicity, I would definitely try to treat them as different, because when see, the whole intent is the whatever process are you building, it needs to be consumable and achievable for your team to orchestrate and operate on those project like processes. And then basically whatever revenue data that you're generating, it needs to be easily partitioned and usable to do all those analysis and good stuff, so you can drive decisions. So for sake of simplicity, I would basically segment them, like PLG as a separate motion, inbound as a separate. They can have overlaps. You can build a list which can have overlaps of inbound plus PLG, and you can create those complex structure using a couple of custom properties plus list or other assets. But I highly recommend having them as separate motions altogether. Any other questions? We are having good questions today.
I don't see any more at this moment.
Right. So the next slide, super heads up, this is not one size fits all again. This is just a framework. So don't take this too seriously. Like my my lazy brain has built this in a very short period of time. So you can see the trend here. So on the left side, you can see the product-led growth actions that, generally speaking, that we do in these, top of the funnel, and then opportunity customer and like post customer stages. So basically, if you have the top of the funnel metrics going on, so generally speaking, you send in-app prompts or marketing emails or mixture of both. Or if you're more into digital marketing side, so you can go with other things, but mostly it's in-app prompts and marketing emails. And if it's inbound led, you can have marketing automations that can contain emails, ads, social, or everything that's in the inbound world. And then let's talk like little bit about pre-sales. So if you have a pre-sales thing going on that's connected to inbound, so you can also have that. If you're like your lead went parts through all the qualification of PQL and SQL, like the top of the funnel is now clear, you're actually opening up an opportunity. So just like I said before, you can have a full-fledged pipeline in HubSpot that is integrated with your product, which will naturally move as your customer progresses in the journey, all the way from signing up to filling out certain details which are like key details, and then finally making that purchase. So it can be self-service, it can be assisted, it can be mixture of both. Whatever your business says, do that. This is just a framework. Sales led, like good old guided selling, where there will be a deal owner and they will be like taking care of the deal, and all those old school inbound thing. Activation. So let's say now you have finally converted. So you can think about an onboarding flow for your customers. So they bought your product. What happens now? They have to go through certain onboarding. So again, if it's a CS led, you can have a full-fledged customer onboarding manager for them. They'll take care of the onboarding. They'll manage the onboarding tickets, everything. If it's a pure PLG, again, if you want to go that route, or mixture of both, you can have in-app activation flow. There are tools like app queues and other things which will allow you to build in-app messaging like right within your product, and then you can like bring that data back in HubSpot. So if people are consuming and using your product to a good amount, then you can use that as a lever for expansion. And same goes for CS motion. If you're talking about like people are using and getting value out of your product, it's basically a good time to talk about upsell if you can provide more value. So this impact, it comes from no recurring impact equals to no recurring revenue. So you have to pull people down as much as possible in the funnel based on their business case and based on the relationship you have with them. Any questions on this before we actually get in HubSpot and start doing stuff?
It doesn't look like it. I think you can jump in.
Excited to look at HubSpot. So I'm excited as well. I actually got bored talking to myself all this time. So let's get tactical. So we have a couple of things. Custom properties. Again, these are general best practices, a framework. So you can just think about how you can build your own. Then we have a couple of HubSpot assets. Custom properties are also HubSpot assets, what I'm talking about. Oh my God. And then we have certain nurture workflows, pipelines, and CGA tool, everyone's favorite. So custom properties. So some of the custom properties to consider when you're building out your PLG specifically. Yeah, no problem. So see, like, let's say you have a special feature. So I'm going to give example of the customer journey analytics as a feature for our product use case. So for example, HubSpot released this new tool. They want to check the number of interaction or the kinds of interaction people are having with this tool, because it's a super expensive, enterprise tool, as some people say, like if they don't understand the value. I get it is expensive, but so they want to track the metric on the usage. So you can have that property, you can have number of logins, you need to have a product user ID. It's a non-negotiable. You have to identify which this contact is in your database, whatever database you're using, BigQuery or SQL, like MongoDB, or Amazon AWS Dynamo or whatever. So that unique ID that needs to be coming back and correctly connected to HubSpot. Sign up bounce. This is just my hypothetical, sign up related custom property, where I assume that I signed up for a product and I saw extremely repulsive and clunky UI, and I was like, no, hell no, I'm not gonna work on this tool. Signed up, bounce. So checkbox, yes, this guy signed up, but totally bounce. So let's treat them differently. Time spent, last session. So when the last session happened in my app, how much amount of time that was spent in activity. Total interactions, what is the total number of interactions? That can be either a roll-up property in HubSpot, where you can bring individual interactions from different modules, or that can be a singular property, depending on like how you want to push that data. So this is the reverse ETL I'm talking about, where you are pushing your app usage data right within HubSpot so that you can actually use it to your advantage and to provide higher value to your customer base. User activity status and user tiers. So this is example of I was talking about customer status or user status. So low activity, active or inactive. So if someone is active, we send them separate communication. If they are low activity, we think about like different communication. And if they're like totally inactive, we have to send them like a different communication so that we can get them engaged. And then user tier. So what plan they are on, like premium, pro max, whatever. I cannot think of good namings. You can suggest me in the chat if you want. So these are some of the custom properties. These are just very general best practices, example, whatever you want to call it. But you can I want you to think about what actions your app users are taking in your app that you want to call it back, and then basically collect that information and leverage that data to your advantage. So think about that, and you'll be good with all the custom properties, and you can build on the go. As you can see, okay, we released this new feature, you want to track that. Okay, we depreciated this product, so let's talk about depreciating this. So life cycle stages setup, this needs to be done very carefully. There is a HubSpot summer school live somewhere on YouTube, I think on RevOps on HubSpot channel. So you can go ahead and watch that. It's gonna talk you about all the business models, where PLG comes in, where you have the inbound, and then all the sales go to market, CS go to market, marketing go to market, everything. Like they're gonna talk about all those things, and you'll have extremely deep dive on setting up the life cycle stages that I'm not going to go into a lot of details now. I'm just going to go glance over this because it's not really good use of time. So just watch that and you'll be good. But let's get started. Amanda, if you can find a link or something and share it in the chat of summer school. So lists. So you need to have all of your lists correctly set up. So I've just built one singular list. Yeah, I'll be sharing this deck for sure. So lead, MQL, SQL, opportunity, you can see all of this. So right now I've built this just once. You can build it twice, whatever fits your need in terms of maintaining clean hygiene in HubSpot and orchestrating the right processes in HubSpot as well. So some of the triggers for lead is like, I'm not gonna go into the exact trigger, but you can look at, how this is configured. So create date is known, and then it needs to have certain sort of intent. This is just a sample. But the idea is you need to configure all of the list. I recommend setting up lists for all, like inclusion list for all lifecycle stages, one time for one go-to-market motion. So let's say you're running 3 go-to-market motions, build 3 set of lists. Like, so it's 8 different lists. So 8 times 3, 24 lists. Each set 1 to 8 for each go-to-market motion. And then once you're set up with the list, the idea is you set up the list, you identify what makes someone a particular thing in HubSpot. Like, what does qualify, like if I'm a contact in your system, how do you qualify me as being an MQL versus an SQL? Or if you're talking about PLG, what does it make me, like what product usage data makes me L1 versus L2, all the way from activation to impact to LTV. So you're going to set up all the lists. And finally, not finally, but after that, you have all the workflows. So let's go to the customer workflow. So you need to ensure that people are flowing correctly in all of the lifecycle stages without skipping any stages. So you need to set up the lifecycle stages based on your list. Your list will be your primary trigger. So if anything is happening in terms of your definition changes or anything, you just need to fiddle with the list, and you don't have to touch the workflow and break anything. So let's say someone in the system become a customer, they paid, first billing cycle completed or whatever is the trigger, and then we're going to check if you're a lead. If not, then we'll make you a lead first, wait 1 minute, and all the way to customer. If they are already any of these, then we are directly marking them as a customer. So for every single life cycle stage, you will have one workflow. Yeah, thanks, Amanda. For like, you can look at that RevOps Summer School, and then basically you'll learn in depth about the lists and whatever I'm showing right now. Some segmented reports that you want to build. So I've built 2 conversion funnel reports. I have a custom property. It's called go to market, and the values are inbound and PLG. So this particular report, it's a lifecycle report, and go to market is any of inbound. So I can see how is my inbound channel functioning right now, and versus how is my PLG channel functioning right now. So you can build nuances in your list, like once someone is let's talk PLG for a second. So once someone is like signing up in your product, and then basically using 3 or 4 key components that are essential. So you identify, okay, this came as a purely PLG thing, and they're running through this progression. So you will see, okay, these are PQL1, PQL2, and what is the like conversion rate. And if you are looking at a high gap, like a large gap, because you can see in this dummy data, it's all fake data, so don't take it too seriously. But for sake of it, you see after level 2, things are fairly stable, but between level 1 and level 2, there is a huge gap. So you can think about, okay, what can we do to ensure more people are qualifying to level 2? So you can talk to your engineering team and think about what are the blockers people are having in our product usage, and you can basically move them down the funnel. Then you have lead creation by go to market functions and all of those things. So that's pretty much it for the like very basic level of setup. Then you can have certain nurture workflows. Again, very simple. Just for example, so if you have low user activity, you can run them through a certain kind of different onboarding. If they are a very active user, extremely active, you can run them through onboarding, like not an onboarding, upsell flow. I'm using the same email because I didn't got to create dummy emails, but you get the idea. You are all super smart, much smarter than me. and I think, yeah, it's the folder. And you have, we have a workflow to set the user status. So you can think about, um, if the number of logins, so these are all the some of the usage data. Based on that, you can set the user status. So either you can do inside of HubSpot based on certain metrics that coming in, or you can push that data directly in HubSpot. It's up to you, whatever you feel best for your teams in the engineering side and in revenue operations side. So work with them closely and then you can decide. So basically, you can think about all the nurture that can happen during each of the life cycle stages and within those life cycle stages. Let's talk a little bit about pipelines. I'm going to cover everything and then we'll talk about some question and answer. So you can have your general sales pipeline, and again, this can be fully automated based on your app usage behavior. If it's like correctly integrated with HubSpot, like associated contact, you can read the API docs. The contact associated to deal, which is in sales pipeline, there will be only one deal all the time. And then based on the activities, clicking certain components or directly getting and buying all the way to closed one, or it can be assisted. So there will be a deal owner who will be guiding through sending out contract. If you're selling big solutions like HubSpot itself, so they'll be sending out discounts and contracts and all those things, and you have the sales pipeline. And then you have your onboarding pipeline. There is a reason, like you can build the onboarding pipeline in tickets as well, but there is a reason I'm doing this in sales, because in sales pipeline you can track the conversion rates when you're building out the funnel reports for pipeline. So I prefer doing this in the deal pipelines, unless you're running out of deal pipelines and you have to use tickets. So good luck with that. So again, this can also happen somewhat hybrid, pure PLG, or you can have it fully assisted. So account setup, product orientation, custom evaluation, everything. So this is something that we can leverage when you're building out. And then I said something about at the very top, we are not going to cover all of this. So there are certain things to consider when you're building out a PLG instance. You have to set up your marketing to sales handoff really correctly. So when that deal opening is happening and the sales is taking the ownership of that particular lead, it has to happen in a very systematic manner. Like there needs to be a good amount of SLA, some minimum criteria to open up that initial deal. Otherwise it's gonna make everyone lives really hard. And then your sales to CS handoff, again, from sales pipeline to CS pipeline, you have to follow a certain process where you're starting to create that first onboarding deal, and it has to copy all that key information from your original sales deal to your onboarding deal. So think about that when you're building out the onboarding. And then finally you have your renewal pipeline, your upsell pipeline, whatever fits your needs in terms of your unique business. And finally, I think, yeah, this is the last one, customer journey analytics. So yeah, it is going to take a second to load. So if you have enterprise hub, then you can actually see the drop-offs between stages. So like, be cautious when using this report, because if you don't have if you don't have enterprise, you have to use that flow that I shared. So everyone, like all of the contacts in your system, they are correctly reflected in your database. But if you do have that, then definitely there can be some loose ends, and you can identify some insights. Okay, how much amount of contacts are actually going directly to opportunity? If that is the case, why is that happening? So you can look at all of that, and you can see I'm not just stopping at customer, I'm going all the way to MRR. I wanted to go to LTV, but it's just allowing me to have 7 stages. So think about when you're building out these reports, cut lead or whatever is not super relevant for that particular to tell the good amount of storing, and then you will be good. Finally, deal stages. So now that customer journey has deal stages within it, so you can use that to your advantage, specifically in this use case. So I have built this, stage pipeline where I'm first looking at the lifecycle stage opportunity. So 50 contacts in the system, they were opportunity. They went to deal stage 1, which is different than customer. Like I'm now going granular on the deal level and looking at, okay, contact associated, like deal associated to this particular contact went to closed one. And again, for the same contact, a deal opened up in the onboarding. So this will happen when you have all those automations correctly set up. Like once your system meets the minimum criteria and everything. So account setup, onboarding, product orientation, onboarding, configuration, feedback, and then onboarding complete or incomplete. So you can build a really nice reports like this, and then you can see, PLG stages, so sales stages in this journey report. So again, this is not a deal object report. This will reflect the contacts. So be cognizant on building that. If you think this is a deal report, you will be, totally ruining your reporting strategy. So that's a wrap, team. Q&A. Let's go. Any questions? I think I did a good job. Everyone learned everything. No questions.
I think you did a good job answering everyone's questions before. If anyone has anything else, feel free to drop it in the chat or the question box. And yeah, we just have a few more minutes, and then thanks guys for coming.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Rashida, Adam, Stepan,
Thank you
Jose.
guys. Well, thank you, Shadab, for hosting, and a big thanks to everyone who joined us and participated. Oh, can you explain again what activation stage and impact stages are?
So Brian, yes, let's take an example. Let's say I'll use a very simple example. Let's say there is a product. Let's talk Grammarly again. I went ahead and bought the premium plan. I'm now a customer, but I'm not really using your premium features. Like I got in the hype, I saw that 60% off discount, and that was an impulse purchase. I bought it, but I'm not really using your product now. Okay, so what about that? So I'm not fully activated on your platform. There needs to be certain activation events that needs to, qualify your product, needs to qualify me that I am definitely, activated. Think about, I'm like using all those, paraphrasing and syntax handling and tone changing features. So if I'm using them regularly in certain intervals, you can build a very robust system if you're smart about it and pushing all of the data back in HubSpot, then I'm activated. If I'm not, then it's not really an activation. Like I just bought it and I'm sitting there, and as soon as I'll get a renewal email from you, I'm like, oh hell no, I don't really need that. You know what, I'm just going to cancel. So that's not a good sign for your business. Impact is something where you can actually think about upsell. So I'm using so much of your features that you want to sell it not just to me but also to my team. So one more thing that we didn't cover is power user, champion to account level. How do you expand into a team from, starting from an individual user? So that is impact. And LTV, we all know, like that can be different for like different teams. I reached LTV status if I, were in contract for a certain period of time or no. So I think that's my explanation. Any other questions?
I don't. I don't see anything now, but we'll just wrap it up. And in case you missed anything, or if you want to watch the presentation again, don't worry, we're going to have that available for you guys. And we hope that you found Shadab's wonderful presentation insightful and valuable. And I'm so pleased that everyone was able to join us today. And thank you again, Shadab. I hope everyone has a fantastic day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, 100